somebody asked online if we had, we showed that this one mapping function was better than another one if we had a short data span. And then the question was, suppose we have a long data span, but we see the same thing. So we're going to answer that question today. And I don't know the answer to it because I haven't done this using our data. So we'll find out. So the first thing what I want you to do is, if you look in the listing of files, there's something that says R1, R4, 2008, 2014, 2017.r. And that's a long file name. So we're just going to copy that to another file. So I'm going to say copy R1, R4.
I think I need to open some kind of, because I let the three terminal pages exactly what how it was in the morning. This is different right now.
I don't know. Come and show me.
In the morning, we open those pages and we solve and then.
Yeah, okay, so this looks okay. That's the solve. Okay. You're all set. So I tried to make my screen bigger so you can see it. And so what we're doing is we're copying this one file to another file that has a shorter name, because we're going to be typing this file, the name of this a few times. So I'm just going to call it miss.r, miscellaneous. And really what it is this is going to contain all of the R1 and R4 sessions for 3 different years. Okay? Let me know when you're done with that. Miss.r. Now let's open using gedit baseline independent baseline underscore independent IMDPE underscore BMF1.cnt. And we want to go to the very, very bottom of that. And you're going to want to turn off screen highlighting of the current line.
So can you go back to the terminal? Okay. Which line?
So way at the bottom, on line 473, 474, what you want to do is put a star where it says cont14.arg, and then remove the star where it says miss.arg.
sorry, can you repeat that? We need to put the star in which one? And
So if you look at the line where it says con14.arc, in your file, there should be a star there, probably.
file was missing.
Yeah, so there's arcs, then it says arc file, and one of them should be con14.arc. Make sure there's a star in front of it. The star means ignore this line. But then there's another line above it that is misc.arc, miscellaneous.arc. So remove the star from there.
I think maybe, what's that?
The line 474 that has 114.
Yeah, comment that.
That's not. Star in front of it.
Uh-huh. And then remove the star and the one above it.
Oh, remove the star like this.
Right.
Yeah. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at those sessions instead.
Indentation is important.
You need to have at least a space. Yeah. You're already done. Are you guys done? Next to you. Everybody's done. Okay. So those lines there at the end say, what sessions are we going to process? And previously I had it set up so that we'd process the sessions from Con14. But now I'm saying we're going to process these in whatever this file is, mis.arc. And so let's save this and get out of it. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing to BMF3.
Done.
Yeah, done. Everybody's done. Okay, so I need to open up another window. So give me a second. So now that we have two windows open, we're going to do two runs of solve simultaneously. One using the E1 initials and one using the E2 initials. And so one will say enter E1 VLINDP independent VMF1.cnt. And then you can say return, and it's going to start processing.
Go back.
So this is the line that we entered. And in the other, we're going to say enter E2 baseline independent VMF3.cnt. So the only difference is we're running these two solve runs, and the only thing they differ is the mapping function they use. So one uses VMF1 and one uses VMF3. And this run will take about 6 or 7 minutes, I think.
What's the difference?
Difference between the mapping function?
One
They are both mapping functions by the University of Vienna. VMF3 is supposed to be better. So the slight differences. So we're going to run it on 300 sessions and see if it really is.
And it's here, but when you do. With the one, and then
Okay, let's see. Let's see. So you missed that first step before you copied that file over. Now it should work.
and do the same thing to E2. Okay, I have to read it, right?
Yeah, you did the same thing for VMF3. Yeah. So my runs are done. How are your runs doing? Still happening there. So if you have a third window open, you can see the status by doing this tail command.
The two videos are moving more.
Good.
Which file do you have to point or tail?
You do tail
Yeah.
dollars
What T?
director dash PR GF E1.
It's always the same.
It's E1 or E2. So it's just you have those initial, you have the things called solve initials, which are those two letters. So, if you're running with E1, then you point at E1. If you're running with E2.
I put DMF1 and 3 for loading. Computer is gonna explode.
Your computer is what?
It's gonna explode.
It's going to explode?
E1 has finished.
Okay. So I don't know if I told you this story, but a long time ago, we used to just all share the same computer. And did I tell you this about setting priorities?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I set it so high that I couldn't even use the keyboard. It's done? Is everybody's done? We'll wait a second for everybody to be done. So, one of the things we did was we started with this control file that had everything set up. And then the only thing we did was we changed the sessions we were going to process. And that's typically how you do things, is you have something set up that you know works. And then if you want to process different sessions, you just change the last part of it. Okay, let me know the status back there. You're finished. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to extract the data, and then we're going to look at it in Python. So to extract the data, type get har $spool SPLF E1 /temp DMF1. Oh. This is a problem with doing this in real time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have to figure out how to fix this. So we're not going to do this right now. But we are going to run another solution. And we're going to use different letters because I want to save the results. We're going to save the results from this. So earlier this morning, I talked about doing a combined solution where we combine the data from many solutions, from many sessions, to estimate station positions and velocities. So we're going to do that, And if you look at your control files, there is a control file called smalltrf.cnt. And we're going to type enter E3 smalltrf.cnt. And are you typing it and is it running? Is it going through okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I typed in E3, but asking for control to continue or
I'm sorry, but what's happening? Can you bring me your...
Não, estava com a unha do. Não, tudo é unha do.
Fine. So that's what yours does?
Vou passar. Vou botar na lista. Vai ser botar.
Professor, a lista da manhã não passa?
não, só no final.
Bom, a gente pode
Achei que ele sugeria ensinar bom dia, aí. Mas como é que eu vou traduzir aí dentro? Só é quinta série. Quem tá falando, né? Ou não?
I don't know. I need to figure it out. So if your run was like mine, it just crashed. Did yours crash? Or did it finish? Yours finished. That's not fair. This small TRF run, that finished.
Doesn't show any.
That just crashed. Yeah. So I need about 10 minutes to figure out what's going on here. So let me do that. I thought I'd done this beforehand, but apparently not. So let me just figure it out and tell you.
Se você fizesse
Esse que eu vou dar aqui para ele, eu não faço não. Eu deveria ver, mas não pode dar. Mas tipo, quando tu pode jogar para o hotel.
Eu tenho que botar de prova, então.
Eu vou botar em casa.
Eu tenho bem tudo. Eu tenho. Aquele que ficou conectado.
Não teve amigo meu que teve, foi mais fácil, né? Estava em italiano. Ele foi atrás, teve que fazer isso, porque tinha acertado.
Eu queria só um quarto maior.
Eu não queria mesmo.
Eu nunca tentei ficar uma americana, uma menina tirou, mas ela já estava no problema, daí ia para a gente, aí depois
Pela CPC estava tipo, mas eu não disse que estava.
ajuda muito se você marcar a passagem de volta, marcar o hotel que você vai ficar.
Eu só agências. Porque não deu
Mas tu não tem nem parente que mora lá, não. E quando você tem parente que mora lá. Tem uns bicos de. Ah, tá. Problema. Oi?
One of them is fixed. I'm seeing if the other one's fixed. You need to change, go to the following directive, which is and you can do that by typing cd/sgp/blbi sessions control. Okay, are you there? Okay. Once you're there, there's this file called nscodes.txt. You want to open it, nscodes.txt. And go down to line about 400.
Can you put the which line?
Go down to about line 400. And if you look at it, line 403 in mine, let me make this larger. Oh, it doesn't work. Line 403 has this line that says Yebus something. Do you see it? Yours is 402?
Yes.
Okay. So insert a line above it. And put in YQ, Yebes DBC, YEBES DBC. And then in the other columns, you can put in whatever you want. And
Não, sem adicionar assim.
Como é que eu posso adicionar aqui?
É só não ir.
Tá.
Não, se tirar aqui não, só adicionar não. E eu faço 000.
É só para
Não, esse só y aqui. E eles TBC.
você vai ver.
E eles só tá lá na frente. ABC 000 P só. PC.
yeah. This is a test of your vision.
É.
And you're failing.
Tem mais espaço aqui? Não, vou abrir.
Tem. Não, tem mais só.
I'll go write up something short and post it on the website. So,
O Y quer mais? Ao vivo.
so have you done it? So all we're doing is, this is a list of the stations, IBS stations. And we're putting in a fake name. Because when it was doing the processing earlier and looking at the solved results, it came across a station that it didn't recognize. And sometimes what happens is, if you have new hardware at a station, they will give it a fake name. So in this case, we had Yebes, and Yebes was observing with the normal hardware and then a DBC. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Time to restart screen sharing. So let's go back to this first thing that we were trying. And remember, we did these two solutions where we had BMF1 and BMF3. And we want to extract the data and put it someplace. And to do that, type get par dollars spooldir SPLF E1 /temp /BMF1. And so what this is saying is, get the information from this spool file, and then we're going to just dump it in this other location. Okay?
Wait.
So somebody says if one of the stations in the session does not have data, how can I analyze the remaining stations and exclude the one without data? There are ways of telling that in the software to just ignore this station. Okay, have you typed this?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you done it? Have you typed VMF, done this example? Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to type SPLF E2 into VMF3, /temp VMF3. Done. So this has put all of these files in this temp directory. Now we're going to compute the baseline repeatability and put it there. So we type base rep x /temp. Okay. So you've done that? So those two commands there. Okay. Now we want to change directories to the Python directory where we had that Python code. So that's an example. So you can just do a CD and that'll get you back to the home area. And you should all be in home VLBI examples Python.
John, had it work? Had a message file.
Which one didn't work? Did you do the did you do this up there? Adiello, did you do that? Those commands? Let me check. Okay, here, so here's what we will do. So we see that. So here you're doing VMF4 into 3, but it should be 1 into 1. This one is 3 to 3. Yeah, 3 to 5. So if you do a head on So let's fix that another thing. Then we do the head. Okay.
I didn't do the head thing because wasn't working. Then I do the Python.
Get out of there.
Yeah.
How do I do these? Okay. Change directory to the Python. Go to this directory there, home, UBI, examples, Python. And don't type in Python. Type in idle 3.9 space ampersand sign. And idle is like the interactive version of Python. IDLE 3.9. And then you should have this white window open up, which is okay. Does that work okay? Then you want to go to open, and there's this Python script there that you're going to open.
What's the name of that?
There's only one Python script there. So if I script open, it should just list that file there.
The directory on the URI, not the same.
No, you need to be in the Python directory. But you could probably navigate up, or you can exit and go to the Python examples.
Trying to open it. Good. The examples Python and
Spelling.
what's the information to open Python?
Idle 3.9. That command there.
Once I open Python,
Then once you open Python, go up to here where it says File. Then you open the file. There's just one file in that directory called something.py. And you open that file. And then we're going to run it. So, Adieldo, I'm not sure if some of these things had an error on the first line. It should say import, but if it doesn't, you need to fix it. So then you hit run. And that's going to read everything into read those routines in there. So now we're going to read in the data that we just extracted. So I'll type BMF1 equals read baseline sum file Okay, let me see.
The wrong.
Other slash. Others. Thank you. So we're going to read in the sum BMF1 sum file, and then the same thing for the BMF3 sum file. So then we're going to now, once you've read them both in, let me know.
Para ele na tela, aí ele pede para eu reconectar novamente, por favor, porque a internet caiu, não consegui botar tudo.
Não, tá. Obrigado. Não é.
I'm sorry. Okay, has everybody read those files in?
The BMF1 works and the BMF3 don't. You know what?
Maybe you didn't make it. Caroline, do you have the files in?
O meu BMF1. Como é que é? E qual vai ser o problema? Então, agora, como é que tem como? Isso.
Yes.
We don't have one word, and I'm trying to do with the terminal tree, but I didn't. Okay, now I just put no Python.
Yeah. Okay, let me know when you've read it all in. And first thing is you should do the plot pair. And there's a surprise for me, and we'll see if it's a surprise for you. If I plot up the baseline scatter plot, I get most of my points are way down here, which is what I expect. On the order of a few, 1 to 10 millimeters. But there's some points which are way, way up here. And to see what those points are, I need to do some investigating. So as soon as we're done with this little Python example, I'll do the investigating. But I first want to make sure that you all are able to read this in.
in the plot.
Okay? So that's just plotting up both with BMF1 and BMF3, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of difference. If I do plot diff BMF1, BMF3, which plots the difference between the two, I get a plot that looks like this. And here I would say, based on this evidence, it's unclear which one is better. It may be that BMF1 has, that it's BMF3 is better for most points, but certainly there are some points down here that are outliers. So it wasn't like unambiguous yesterday. Okay. So this is like the Python exercise. Let's go back and look at the issue of why we have this high baseline scatter. And so I am going to do a type more / temp / BMF1.sum. And this is just looking at this file here. And I want to look at this column over here that says RMS to see if I see anything that are outliers.
What is the command? Sorry.
More, M-O-R-E, / temp / BMF1.sum. And you should see what I have up here. You see it?
Loading 30%.
Really?
Yes.
More is, it should be instantaneous. Okay, so it has only 13% of the file. Ah, okay. Okay, so you have it all there. And if we look at this column here, where we have the RMS, we have some stations that are really big. Like if I look at Fortaleza Tigo, that's huge. That's 1,000 millimeters. That's a meter. Kokei, Shoshan is 300. Kokei, Tigo is 800. Tigo, Betzel, 600. Tigo, Westford. Now, one of the things that happened, and I'd forgotten about, was there's an earthquake at Fortaleza. And the earthquake caused Fortaleza to shift a substantial amount.
Well, don't say it.
Don't say about.
We don't have those kind of things here.
And so that's why the scatter is so huge. Because I'm also including the scatter of the earthquake. So one way I could get around this is take Fortaleza out and just look at the points without Fortaleza, or incorporate some kind of model of Fortaleza. So when you're looking at VLBI data, one signal that something is wrong is if the scatter is abnormally large. So this is an example of like doing stuff in real time and then being surprised. If I'd done this example ahead of time, I would have been prepared for this. But at least I have an explanation for what's happening. Okay. Let's go back to this other thing we were trying to do. We were trying to do a global solution.
Could you get out of this model?
You just say Q. And so let's do a CD top up to solve. And do a G edit of this small trf.cnt. And you s-
What's a complete path?
it is in your no. For what do you want to do? You want to go to this directory.
CD.
You do cd dot dot slash solve. So you're going to go up a directory and then down a directory. Do you find it? Nope. Okay, I'm going to get out of this. Another way is to just type cd. They'll put you in your home directory. Then you say cd examples solve. Okay. Then type gedit small trf.cmt. So small underscore trf.cmt. So if you now type in, if you now look at the top of it, there's some lines that will say something something CGM. Or there'll be a star CGM something. And you want to comment all of those out, but you want to have a line in there that says CGM, none, and none. I think right now it says CGM small TRF or something like that. Yeah, so comment out that line. Just put a star there. And underneath it, put in space CGM space none none. So do you see that?
I think I did. Oh, but no.
Okay, now I'm going to say this. So I should have that line there. I tried to make the script larger so that people can read it. Okay?
So we can close up.
All set?
I did the head. And the regular lines.
Yeah, fine, perfect, perfect. Okay, now we're going to use this. Now we're going to do a global solution with this. So this is going to be a global solution with 60 arcs. And I think everybody's works except for all the Aldos, and I'm not sure why yours doesn't work. But let's do enter E3 small trf.cnt. And it's going to go through and it's processing them, and it's taking about
1 per second.
1%. It's almost time to get a cup of coffee.
Que mas é porque eles tinham colocado não terminou. Pode.
So it's enter E1.
Enter, you could say E1 or E3 space small underscore trf.cnt.
I do not. Porque tá no pai. Tem que botar esse bicho aqui no bicho do sol.
I have to be in which directory to do that?
You have to be in the examples solved directory. Now, if you look at it down at the bottom, it's saying solve something. Now mine is at 60. I'm not sure where yours is. And it used to say forward, and now it's saying back. So what it's done is it's gone all the way through to the end, and now it's basically starting over again. So yours working all the Eldo?
Yes.
Great, okay.
59. Não aparece.
So at home, when I'm frequently, if I'm have a big solution to do, I'll generally start at nighttime, like at 8 or 9 o'clock at nighttime, so it'll be ready for me when I wake up in the morning.
O meu acabou por dar certo.
So what number are you guys at? Okay. After this, we'll have the coffee break.
Sabe perigar. Foi moral, né?
Okay, guys, let's finish up this afternoon. I think it's probably not going to be too much longer, but you just got done doing a session where you combined 60 sessions. And I don't remember what initials were you using. Was it E3?
Yeah.
E3. Okay, so what I want you to do is, and I need to set up my stuff, is type, well, let me,
Needs to be solved, right?
you need to be in Salt.
Okay.
Well, you can be anywhere for this.
All right.
Type more dollars spool dir SPLF E3. And so that's just, we're gonna look at a listing of the spool file. Now do the following, put in a slash,
Can you go back to the school? I still do not remember. So many times. Okay. This.
yeah, just type that and then return.
Okay. After enter, I need to type return.
And then type return, and then you should see this. And this is just information that's in the spool file. You see the same thing?
Yes.
Now put in a slash and a capital COMP. And what that's saying is we're going to search for this thing. And then you should start to see something that looks like this. You see that? So at the top of the spool file, or in the spool file, we've estimated the positions and velocities for all of these stations. And it is going to go through and tell us what it thinks the positions are. So here it's giving us the position for Algo Park. And this first thing is an XYZ, that's what the total position is. And these next numbers here are the adjustments to the total. So it starts with some a priori, it adds it, and then this is what it gets. This third column here is the uncertainty. So the uncertainty in Algo Park's position is on the order of a millimeter. And it gives the coordinates in two different reference frames. One is XYZ, and XYZ is a global reference frame where everything is within the same coordinate system. And the other reference frame is a local one, which is up, east, north. And if you look at this in up, east, north, Algo Park's up component has an uncertainty of 1.3 millimeters, but its east and north are about 0.3 millimeters. And that is typical in that the up component is always less well determined than the horizontal, or it's almost always. And if you hit space, it should go down. So now you see Fortaleza's position here. And you'll see Gill Creek's position. So this is the sort of thing that you can get with a global solution. And here we just did it for some 60 sessions. So we got, pretty good stuff. And I'm going to go down and see. Then I also have source positions. And the source position, it gives me the right ascension and the declination. And then it gives me the uncertainty in milli-arcseconds of the source. And let me type in /delay. And if I type in /delay, then I start to get to where it's processing individual arcs or individual sessions. And then that has information about the individual sessions. And I type space, I go down through there. This estimates a ton of parameters. We get to UT1. So if you look at this thing here, it's giving me more information than I need. It's giving me the gradient information, the clock information, all of these nuisance parameters stuff. And then I have the EOP information. And I have the EOP in terms of, X, Y, and UT1. So, this is the kind of information you get from a global solution. So that's all I wanted to talk about here. And then we have software that will take this information and put it someplace else and put it in something that's more useful. So that's that. That's what the spool file looks like. Let's look at the. I'm going to do a more on the progress file.
One more time. It's good that
Pardon?
the character before one. It's good.
The correct format?
No.
So we just looked at the spool file. Let's look at the progress file. So that's more dollars workdir PRGF E3. And this is something that is output by solve in real time. And you can see that it starts off by saying forward solution start. So it's building up the normal equations, starting at the beginning and then going to the very end. And it takes about 2 minutes to go through in the forward direction. Then it has a big matrix to invert, and then it goes backwards. And that is basically, the information here. So here we did 60 sessions. What we do at Goddard is a couple of times a year, we'll do a solution where we use all of the VLBI data, and that has about 8,000 sessions. And we'll go through it, and if we notice a problem with the session, then we'll fix it, then we'll redo it. I have another topic before I get to there, but I'm going to open my File Explorer. Let me ask you a question. What's our favorite VLBI station? Audialdo, what's your favorite VLBI station? Fortaleza. So I asked Karen Baver, who works with me, to prepare some slots of sessions where Fortaleza was in. So here is a chart showing Fortaleza and Betzel. And each dot there represents a measurement. And what we're plotting is baseline length. And you can see that almost everything lies right on a straight line there. And the scale here is 30 years, almost, from the beginning of Fortaleza to the current time. And over this period of time, the length changed by 200 millimeters, something like that. Now, the reason I plot length is, instead of components, is baseline length doesn't change depending on the Earth orientation. It's invariant. So this is Fortaleza to Betzel. So this is like real evidence that something is moving. Here is Fortaleza to Coquet. And here you have the length is changed by maybe a meter over this period of time.
That's because working is
Moving.
velocity is quite big.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
That was a bearing problem that we had, and we had to replace it. We spent almost 1 year bearing the problem.
very.
Was the first
So Koki is a site that has the largest velocity. It's something like 75 millimeters a year. And there's this joke in field the eye that you can go up on top of the mountain and feel the wind blow as it's moving. So, poor joke. So that's, let's see. Here is Fortaleza to Park Real. And Park Real is this other station that we observed last week. So this is our, one of the partners in this thing. So probably what we should do is we should investigate these sessions here where there's where there's outliers. Maybe there's something wrong with the session or something like that. So this was just, I asked Karen to do something sort of quick and dirty before lunch. I said, can you generate this plot for me? And so she was able to do it while we were eating lunch.
And John, could you come back with one?
Another slide?
Yes. There is a large visual light, large noise about.
In this slide here or in the previous?
Yes, in the previous as well. Some noises at the end of before 2020.
Yes.
2018.
Those things there you're talking about?
Yes.
I don't know what's causing those. You look, the error bars there are big, so it's just not good data.
But it's like 1 year of data.
Well, it's some stations within that, and we don't have a lot of observations on Fortaleza or Real, but let's go to Fortaleza Betzel, which I know I had here.
See the same noise.
Yeah, so you say the same thing there. So that's
Could be seismic activity.
probably not. I don't know. I mean,
Problem
somebody should investigate that. So it's nice to see how linear this is. If you take out, right now I have this slope here, and if I take out the slope and I look at this, what you'll find is that there's seasonal variations in the baseline length. And the seasonal variations are on the order of 10 millimeters. And those are not entirely understood, what causes them.
What's it here?
Pardon?
What's it here?
A year. A year, yeah. The largest period is a year. Yes.
Since the variation was shown in Wetzel and the other children's, the problem is fertility.
I don't know. I'm not gonna point anything. Innocent until proven guilty. That's what we say in the U.S.
How many millimeters again? Of variation?
That's not a good idea.
10 millimeters.
So this here is maybe 200 millimeters over 30 years, but
No, the annual variations.
the annual is like 10 millimeters.
10 millimeters.
Yeah, I'll look and see if I can have a presentation about that someplace. And one of the things you find is that I've talked about loading effects. If you include loading effects, it makes that variation smaller. If you don't include loading effects, it makes it larger. So in Solve, I've showed you how to do independent solutions. I've showed you how to do combined solutions. And this is all fine. But suppose you say, I have some new errors. I think that there's something that's causing the station to move. How do I go about putting this in? Like, and one way to do it is to modify the code to do it, but you don't want to do that in general, because Solve is operational software. What that means is that people depend on it. We produce products every day that are used by the scientific community. And so you don't want to mess with the code. We are very careful. Anytime we make a change to the code, we compare it with previous versions to make sure we understand any changes. And Solve is also very big. But about 30 years ago, we put in 2 different features, and one of them is called user cal, for user calibration. And what this means is, if you can figure out what sort of calibration you want to do, and you write a small subroutine, Solve will use that subroutine and apply the calibration. There's another sort of near to that called user partial. And in user partial, if you have some new model and you want to see, you say, I think that the station position depends on where the moon is. And here's how I think it depends. Now, if you can write down the partial derivatives for that, there's a program called user partial that Solve can use, and it will read those partials, and then it will apply them to the solution. If we have time tomorrow, I'm going to go through a small example of that. And that's how you can make a test to see if a new model, one way of making a test to see if a new model works better. I think I mentioned that one of the newer changes in Solve is looking at the effect of the rotation of the solar system around the galactic center. This causes a very small change in station position on the order of something like 50 microarc seconds over 40 years. And it's very small, but systematic. And you should be able to see it in the data. So the first thing that was done is some people wrote a user partial program to calculate what that was from our data. And they got some number from that. And then we compared that with what astronomers get optically. So this is just a feature I want you to be aware of. It's sort of an advanced feature. So if you have some idea about, you think that the observation should depend on something, and you can formulate it well mathematically, then we can put that into our software and test it. As another example of this is that we had earthquakes in Taigo and in Japan. And the earthquakes in Japan were particularly problematic because the stations there are stations that we use for intensive measurements. And if the station position changes, that's going to change the intensive measurements. So you needed some way of modifying where Solve thought the station position was. And we use that using this user cal program. And what we did was we said, we took the change in station position from GPS, because GPS measures this every day, then we fed that into Solve. And we use that that technique to get good values for UT1. So that's, I think, all I wanted to talk about today. Tomorrow is a big day because we have this great presentation. And it's Jean-Pierre's birthday. And then Yeah. Then Friday's even better because it's the last day. But if you have anything or any questions or any comments, I'd be happy to talk about it in the next little bit until it's time to go home.
It's just my group, or there's
I think it's just your group. The other, I couldn't get other volunteers. They were either smarter or less brave. So
it's okay if tomorrow we do the presentation on Portuguese, and then we talk a little bit but less detail in English for you, because I can talk in English, but not that good, really.
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. I can do like a text and then put I don't know, Google Translator to talk to these people.
That's fine. That's fine. A few years ago, I went to a Nialis, and they were dedicating 2 new BLBI antennas, and they had the mayor of the town and the governor of the state there, and the governor of the state gave this long speech in Swedish, and then he said, let me translate for the other people. He said, research is good. So, and I went to another inauguration of a VLBI antenna in the Azores. And there they had a priest, and the priest blessed the antenna as part of it. Yeah.
They speak Portuguese, right?
Yeah, yeah.
O português para contar aqui, é um português basicamente igual ao brasileiro, muda só um português antigo.
Tem um monte de gente de Santa Catarina.
The people in the Azores are very proud because they're the only part of Portugal that was not conquered by Spain. Any questions from online?
That seasonal variation of 10 millimeters. There's the same consistent distance from other stations from Fortaleza.
You see that in lots and lots of stations. So it's not a special problem for Fortaleza. You know, so I will ask my colleague if he has some thoughts of it, because that's something he investigated. Yeah.